All right. Got Mike in Ohio. Thanks for waiting.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Of course.
Hey, I kind of want to take this back to what you opened up with the was it the Do No Harm Act?
Yes.
Actually, I agree with that. I think that we definitely need to have laws that keep religions separate from the government, and I think we do need to protect children if their parents are against them getting any kind of medication, or they're dying.
Right.
But I think it's a pretty broad brush to just paint the entire church as a negative. I think that
Who did that?
at least in the last 20 years, and I know you don't. I just obviously.
So yeah, let me talk about that a little bit. I do tend to point out problems, and if a group of folks are working together to do a particular thing and they're successful at it, I give them credit, and so in the case of how about the conversion therapy for gays? It was definitely a religious idea, and not every Christian wanted to do it, but at the end of the day, there were a lot of folks that were subjected to it, and it was proved to be harmful. And so my question would be, what about the folks that just sat on the sidelines, wearing the team jersey? Are they on that team or not?
I don't think either of us would ever deny. I mean, religious organizations and religious people have done lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of good things throughout history, including forming hospitals and universities and things like that, feeding the homeless and other charitable efforts. The big thing is it's getting harder and harder to find an example of where they're doing something good, where they're not also shitting all over it at the same time. So when you have Christian adoption organizations, they get special dispensation from the government because they take up a public service of pairing parents or future parents with children that are in need. And so the government doesn't actually have the same responsibility that they once did because the churches have picked up some of this slack. The problem is that those same churches are denying, for example, same-sex couples from being paired with children because it's against their religion. So now they've got essentially kind of a monopoly or a mild monopoly on adoption services, and yet that allows them to inject their religion into the adoption services. The same thing happens at Catholic hospitals where you have to follow, there are procedures that they won't do. There are procedures that they are forced to do. I have a friend who is a social worker who's worked with those hospitals where if a woman goes in and has a miscarriage, not only do they have to deal with the miscarriage and a burial service for the fetus, but sometimes the placental stuff is not displaced at the same time as the miscarriage. So if they come back in a second time to get rid of the rest of the placental matter, that gets a service as well. So not only do they have to go through this entire kind of process twice, but they end up getting charged for 2 funerals. And then you have universities where there's special treatment for some students, there's special treatments for some doctrines and other things. It's like they can't, where are they doing good where they're not also doing less good than they could do if they didn't have to inject their religion into everything? You go down on under I-35 here in Austin. Austin has a massive homeless population, and down under I-35 in the parking lot there, but between 6th and 7th and 8th Street, there are a number of religious organizations that are out there doing what they can. They're giving out food. They're giving out treatment for pedicures and stuff because taking care of your feet is incredibly important, especially if you end up living in the same socks for months at a time. But there's also secular organizations that are out there doing it. And by and large, Atheists Helping the Homeless and Humanism at Work are out there. And one question that they would get quite frequently at the beginning is, which church are you with? Because the homeless have gotten used to expecting, hey, you'll get a sandwich and toothpaste after you listen to this sermon. And some atheists decided, you know what? We can just ditch the entire sermon thing and just give them the damn sandwich and the toothpaste, and we've done better. So it's not
like I said,
churches and religious people do good stuff.
I agree with the spirit of that bill. And I listen to you enough.
So where's it go too far?
You guys are.
Because Don doesn't think it goes far enough. You think it goes too far, and Don doesn't think it goes far enough. So,
oh no, actually, I don't think the bill goes too far at all. I just meant, I just wanted to
point out the good.
Add to that not all, that I think that
hashtag not all churches
doing a lot of good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and like I said, I listened to you enough. I realized you guys don't just bash churches and aren't just bashing Christians. I mean, and I know that with so many of the callers that you get, it would be difficult to not have an aggressive posture against them. But like,
evidently, I'm a disrespectful asshole, according to Karen.
Well, like I myself, I would. My story is somewhat like yours, Matt. I came from. I was really active in the church, and I think I would call myself a theist more than a Christian at this point. I mean, it's much like you start looking at the Bible and what it really says, and I don't think I just haven't taken that last step you took. I think that I don't know if it's just conditioning or what. There's something that is, and I guess you're leaving open the possibility of there being a God as well.
Sure, just as soon as somebody presents evidence for it. I'm open to anything.
Exactly.
But until there is, I couldn't believe even if I wanted to, because belief's not a choice. You're either convinced or you're not. So what?
Right, I understand that.
What might be keeping you convinced?
I don't think I am convinced. I think there's this part of me that
you just don't want the label.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I'm not a.
Well, are you convinced? Are you convinced that a God exists?
No, not really. I would say I leave open the possibility, and maybe even the desire that there would be a God. And the only reason I bring any of this up is just I'm not really here to just protect the churches. But there's this church I went to years ago that they had built a new. There's some village in Guatemala that they had no water. Right, their well is broke, and the church raised a bunch of money and they put a new well in for this village. As soon as the new well went in with the added water pressure, blew up the entire distribution system. All the pipes, everything just blew up. And this was mentioned at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and by noon, there's $80,000 in donations
to shore up the rest of the system, huh?
Yeah. So I was just thinking that I know there's secular organizations that can do the same thing, but it's like to have that many people. I saw the church as a very positive thing that day, and that you had this group of people who immediately opened up their hearts and their wallets to take care of a real need.
Why do you think they did that? What was their motivation?
I mean, some people, it may have been because, it's God's calling in their opinion. But I think a lot of people, I think that in general, people like to help other people.
I think you're right.
Obviously, we're very fortunate in this country.
And apart from the fact that they were, all part of a church, what if they were part of a secular community? Those same exact people were part of a secular community center. Do you think they did?
I think you could have probably had the same result.
I do too.
I think with the church, though, is that you have this place where people are meeting, and I think a group of atheists could do the exact same thing. If
I think they have. And I think atheists are raising money for people affected by Dorian right now.
And if you could criticize atheists, it may be that we're not nearly as well organized around.
But we also haven't had the de facto protection of a government, which is what religions do with their complete tax-free status without ever having to open their books or demonstrate they're doing anything in the public good. And if a church raises $80,000, you have no way of knowing how much of that $80,000 made it to Guatemala. Because
that's true.
Because the books don't ever have to be opened. Whereas every other nonprofit organization has to actually show what they're doing in the public interest and have their books open and available to the public. It's a preferential position, and it's one of the reasons why secular organizations and charities are still several steps behind, because we haven't had that privileged position, at least in the United States.
And we may not even want it. I think we want a level playing field, but we don't necessarily want to be hidden from view like the religions are.
Yeah, there's a community center here.
Right.
There's people on the other side of that glass right now. There's people in the back room. There's people out prepping the food. Those are the guys that make the show happen back there.
There they are.
Thank you, guys. It's about community. It's not that the religious belief is encouraging people to do good. It can on occasion, and when it does, I think it might be I was going to say I think it might be a bad thing, because you can get people to do the right thing for really bad reasons, and it's fine if it's, hey, help out this village, okay, or you're going to go to hell. Ooh, well, now I really better do it.
Or you're going to improve your chances of going to
so
heaven.
You've done.
Message. It was just.
You've done.
It was just. Hey, there's this.
I know.
Need,
I know.
you
I know.
help.
I
Right.
know. There's.
Right.
But if the religion is using guilt and shame to get people to do a good thing, I'm not convinced that is as good as getting people to do a good thing because it's good.
No, I agree with that.
And it's hard to tease apart those
I'm
motivations.
Not watching you guys right now, I'm just listening. So I don't know if it was Matt or Don that made the comment about the organization. I will say I think that's a kind of a downfall for non-religious people that want to help, as I don't think it's as prevalent in our society. Places where they can go and have that community, that sense of community, and where they've got the opportunities.
Yep. We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Yep. I doubt there's as many though. So
I know.
Right.
There's
not. I'm not disagreeing. Yeah, I'm not disagreeing at all with anything that you guys were saying in the opening comments. I just was calling in to say that I think that the church is doing. The negatives of the church probably are not as negative as they were maybe 40 or 50 years ago, because I don't think that the church, though you made a lot of good points of where the church does, have a negative impact. I don't think that society is governed by religion as much as we used to be. I think that
well, you're definitely right there.
Beyond that.
I would agree with you there.
I think that there are secular people that are more willing to speak up when there's an abuse, and that helps. And it may be that the churches are not as strong in power as they used to be, where people would just go because that was the only game in town.
Yeah, 50 years ago, you had basically Madeline
Murray O'Hare
running American Atheists and fighting for the removal of government-led prayer in school and things like that. Now you have
hundreds of
thousands of Madelines and hundreds of organizations. So I probably shouldn't say thousands of Madelines.
She was a unique person.
She was a character who I never met, but I was told by a mutual friend of ours that we would have loved each other and hated each other and argued like cats and dogs and worked towards a common goal. And I kind of like. It was
probably a lot more difficult back then to be going against the religious currents of the country.
Right.
Yes. It's probably. I don't want to use the word courageous.
We got like 5 minutes left before we're going to get cut off, Mike. I want to try and get to a couple other calls.
I'll let you go, and hopefully you get someone more
entertaining
than me. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.